If you follow my channel at all, you may have wondered, where has House of Ham been these days? It has been over a month since I've posted anything. Well, it started as we were setting up for field day. I took that Friday off and we were setting up at a pretty scenic spot called Horse Heaven Vista, which is just up the hill from the small eastern Washington town of Prosser. Now I was with my good friend Dan, K7NXL, and through him I met Mike, K7NT, who's a longtime ham and that he's really good at contesting. Now Mike brought his Class A motorhome, which would be our home and base of operations for the duration of field day. He has an onboard generator so we could have power and, even more important, AC, as we had highs in the mid-90s. Now we were in the middle of setting up and I got a call from my mom. A little unusual to get a Friday call, as Mom normally calls on Sundays. That's been a long-time tradition with us that started while I was active duty military. She would call and I could talk to my dad, who's been in a nursing home for almost a year after he broke his back last July. He also had Parkinson's disease, which was taken into overdrive from the trauma from his back. So when I got that Friday call from Mom, I thought it might have something to do with the financials of Dad's new long-term care facility that he just moved into. It wasn't. I got the news that I'd been expecting, but still wasn't prepared for. Dad had passed. We didn't think he was going to make it through the holidays, and he was under hospice care, but he'd stabilized, and although he was weak and very thin, I just didn't expect that news then. So, what do I do now? Do I immediately head home and pack a bag and head to Phoenix? Mom and I had decided months ago that would not be the best course of action, and in fact, I didn't go for about another week. We needed to give some time so that when I did go down, I could help Mom through the logistics we needed to do to settle Dad's affairs, which were where I was for 2 weeks. So, since I wasn't going right away, I decided to stay and keep my mind off the current events as much as possible and play radio with my friends. I can say my head wasn't completely in it, but I believe I was much better off than if I'd stayed home wallowing in pity. Dad would not have wanted that. So, on to our setup. Mike had purchased a 45-foot aluminum telescoping mast and base. Pretty impressive, way overkill for what Dan and I would have normally done, but that is just Mike's way. He doesn't do anything halfway. So, at the top of the mast, we had a 2-meter 440 Yagi, and under that we had a fan dipole that covered 80 through 10 meters. It was a pretty effective setup, and we did really well. Inside, we had Mike's ICOM 7610. Wow, what a nice radio. I had an IC 7300 prior to my Yaesu FTD X10, but I gotta say, I'm really impressed with the 7610. Now, at $3,500, I would expect great things. Mike also had a full desktop computer with a 32-inch monitor set up running N1MM, which makes things really nice for contesting. Now, Horse Heaven Vista was a beautiful spot to set up and do ham radio. It has a terrific view of the Yakima Valley. This overlooks the town of Prosser, which is in the heart of Washington wine country. This vista is at the western edge of Horse Heaven Hills, named such as wild horses used to roam there. Even though this event had a dark cloud over it for me, I want to thank both Mike and Dan for being good friends. It was with their help that I had a much easier time during this dark hour. And we did pretty well, too. We ended up with a total of 649 QSOs, of which 408 were on CW and 235 single sideband. And we even got 6 FM on 2 meters. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for some exciting changes coming to the channel in the near future. If you haven't already, you may want to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Until next time, 73.